Hello and welcome. This episode is about how to build trust and how to build trust faster in teams. I'll start with a question. Have you ever joined a team where everything just seemed to work like a well-oiled machine? People shared information. Problems were raised early. Ideas were discussed openly. And people helped each other. There was very little politics. How good is that? Very little blame. Even better. And performance seems to take care of itself. Everybody knows what to do. They trust one another. It's all about that. Trust. The team trusting each other and trusting themselves. And perhaps, and I think most of us have been there, perhaps you've experienced the opposite. A team where people kept information to themselves. Mistakes were hidden, communication was poor, and people worked in silos. And every problem seemed to take longer to solve than it should. What's the difference? Good question. Often, it's trust. Today, in this episode, I'm going to explore how to build trust faster in any team. But before we get into that, just a quick introduction. My name is Brian Dance. I've spent more than 30 years working in business, leadership, and throughout that time, I've worked with teams of all sizes, small teams, big teams, interstate teams, multi-site teams, you name it. And some have performed exceptionally well. Others have struggled despite having talented people. And one of the biggest differences that I've consistently observed within those teams is trust. Welcome to The Long Way Forward. Today in this episode, I'm discussing how to build trust fast in any team. And before I begin, if you find value in these conversations, please subscribe. I've got plenty more practical discussions ahead on leadership, communication, culture, and workplace performance. Let's dive in. I'll start with an important observation. Trust in teams rarely happens by accident. It's usually design. It's not by accident. Many people assume trust just develops naturally, automatically, if you spend enough time together. Who's giggling at that idea? Sometimes it does. Sometimes trust will develop, but often it doesn't. I've seen teams work together for years and still struggle with trust. I've also seen teams develop strong trust within a few months. Time helps, but trust is built through behaviour in teams. Think about an elite sports team, gridiron, basketball, doesn't matter, any of those. They trust their teammate to do the right thing and be there when they need them. Be there for that pass. Back them up. That's trust. And they don't build that trust just by being there, not through proximity. So what then, if it's not about being there, what is the fastest way to build trust? The answer might surprise you. Some people think being predictable is boring, but believe me, when it comes to creating trust, predictability wins, hands down. Think about that. People trust what they understand. People trust what they can predict. They trust consistency. And in a team, consistent performance means team members know what to expect from each other and trust begins to develop. But if behaviour constantly changes, the team doesn't know what to expect. And trust really struggles to form. Imagine working with someone who always follows through, always communicates clearly. Imagine working with someone who always behaves respectfully. You might not become close friends, but you will probably trust them in the work environment. Now imagine somebody who behaves differently every day, sometimes supportive, sometimes unavailable, sometimes engaged, sometimes disengaged. You don't know what to expect. And as a result, unpredictable, trust becomes much more difficult. Consistency creates confidence. Confidence in people creates trust in teams. It's true for leaders, it's true for individuals, it's true for teams. Now here's another important trust ingredient in my trust recipe, if I can say that. Reliability, which is close to predictability, but reliability, doing what you say you'll do. It's one of the quickest ways for any team to build trust. Simple, not always easy, but very effective. So if you're a leader, one of the simple ways to make your team, or help your team rather, to trust one another is to make sure that they do what they say they're going to do. If you've got a team member that's not doing what they say they should be doing, you need to course correct. Others will notice it. If you don't address it, trust won't flow. So that's not always easy, by the way, but it's incredibly effective. Every commitment kept strengthens trust. Every commitment broken weakens it. Think about a high-performing team. If somebody says, I'll finish that by Friday, and the rest of the team believes them, not because they hope it will happen, but because that person has a history of following through, of doing what they say they're going to do. That trust has developed through repeated evidence, not promises, and certainly not broken promises. That's why reliability matters so much. So again, if you see your team members making promises and not keeping them, as a leader or a team member, you need to help them get back on track. Maybe explain to them the implications of what happens when they keep breaking promises. You'll find some people aren't aware of it. Make them aware. Quite often they'll course correct themselves. That develops reliability. Now on that, I'm going to touch on something many teams and leaders who are learning get wrong. They avoid difficult conversations because you think too often avoiding conflict protects relationships, but in reality, particularly in teams, the opposite is often true. Healthy teams address issues early, respectfully, professionally, and openly. Trust actually grows when people know that problems can and will be discussed safely. When a leader ignores issues, or when a team ignores issues, frustration grows. Resentment kicks in after that. People make assumptions, and the first thing to erode is trust. It's out the window. One of the strongest teams I ever worked with had a simple rule. If something needed to be said, it got said. But it had to be done respectfully, directly, and without any dramatisation. The result? Very little politics, very little gossip, and very high trust, because people knew where they stood. Think about that. From a team perspective, people knowing where they stand. No gossip, high trust, people know where they stand. There's no doubt. People trust clarity. They distrust uncertainty. Here's another powerful trust builder. If you're a leader or if you want to become one, think about this word, and some people might struggle with it. Vulnerability. That word makes some people uncomfortable. I mean, we're taught all of our life, don't show vulnerability, right? Let me explain. I'm not talking about oversharing. I'm talking about being human. Besides willing to say, yep, that was me, be willing also to say, I made a mistake. I need help. I don't know. Those statements, believe it or not, often strengthen trust because they demonstrate authenticity. I've seen leaders gain enormous trust by admitting they didn't have all the answers. People don't expect perfection. They expect honesty. And honesty creates trust. Now we're halfway through the episode. I want to ask you a question. If someone joined your team tomorrow, what would they experience? Just ponder that for a second. As a leader or a team member, if somebody joined your team tomorrow, what would they experience? Would they experience openness, support, reliability, respect? Or would they experience uncertainty? Because the answer tells you a lot about the current trust level within the team. On that, I often share thoughts like this on LinkedIn. So if you'd like more practical insights on leadership, team performance and culture on LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me there. Brian Dance. Look me up. Be good for both our networks. Back to the podcast. I want to discuss something now that often gets overlooked in the trust space. Recognition. Trust grows when people feel genuinely valued, not flattered. There's a difference. Acknowledging effort and recognizing contribution, showing appreciation, those behaviours create positive connections. And positive connections strengthen trust. If someone does something good, something outstanding, take a moment to recognise them, acknowledge them. Nice work, good job, well done. I appreciate you. Thank you for your effort. Literally, a two-second conversation. But if it's genuine, it strengthens trust. People want to know that their contribution matters. When leaders and team members recognise each other genuinely, not flattery, don't be fooled, it's got to be genuine. Trust often grows surprisingly quickly. People feel seen. Make it practical for you. Here's one for you. If you want to build trust faster in a team, focus on 5 things. First, be consistent. You might want to write these down. Focus on these 5 things. First, be consistent. Second, do what you say you'll do. Third, communicate openly. And fourth, address issues early. And fifth, this is the icing on the cake, people, fifth, recognize contribution. None of these require a large budget, by the way. None require special technology or complicated systems. They just require a couple of moments of time. They're behavioral. And that's important because trust ultimately is a result of behavior. It's built through what people experience, what they see, how they feel about what they see and hear. Not what they're told, what they experience. Here's one final thought. Many leaders focus heavily on performance. They focus on targets, KPIs, metrics, and results. These things matter. They absolutely matter. But trust comes first because teams with high trust communicate better, collaborate better, and they learn faster. They adapt faster. And ultimately, trust me on this, they perform better. Trust is not separate from performance. It's often a prerequisite for performance. People supporting one another instead of working in silos. One of the things I do, and I think you'll benefit from this, you conduct a simple trust review. Ask yourself, what behaviours are within my team that build trust? What behaviours do I see? And what behaviours do I see or have I seen that damage trust? And what is one thing that I could personally do this week to strengthen trust? Perhaps it's following through more consistently. Perhaps it's having a difficult conversation. Perhaps it's recognizing someone's contribution. Here's how I'll do it. One of the things I do, when our business does something really, really well, let's say one of our salespeople brings in a big deal. That's awesome, and I recognise that achievement. But let's not forget that achievement couldn't take place without the hard work of everybody else in the business that creates the systems and the support that enable us to deliver on that request. So I make sure that those people get acknowledged too. I'm talking about our support staff, our admin staff, our marketing staff. All of them are a part of that mission. So I recognise that. Trust is not built in one moment, and trust is not built in one meeting, one workshop, or a speech. It's built through hundreds of small interactions like that, recognising, sharing, day after day, predictably, conversation after conversation, commitment after commitment. Over time, all of those little interactions create something unstoppable. A team that trusts each other. When that happens, almost everything becomes easier. Thanks for joining me on this episode of The Long Way Forward. If you've enjoyed the discussion, please like, comment, subscribe. It'd be great to have you on the journey. It also helps more people discover this podcast, these conversations, and improve their journey forward. Again, pun intended. In the next episode, I'm going to explore why communication breaks down in teams, even when everybody believes they're communicating clearly. So still focusing on teams. Next episode's all going to be about team communication breakdowns and why they happen. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. This is The Long Way Forward.